And do you know what that leads to? I think you're completely right that people want to appear good. And because of that, people don't talk to or associate with transgender people because they're scared, because they don't want to talk to me because they might say he, and they're confused. Am I a trans man? Am I a trans woman? What's the terminology? I'm not sure. And and they're uncomfortable, but they don't want to be called out because we make it a big deal. And so what I try to do is to level that and say, it's not a big deal at all. You can call me Julia. If he comes out, that's fine. You can call me Jason if that you're more comfortable with that. And I'd love to go and talk about the pronouns for a bit, because that's been a journey I've gone
Yeah,
on
let's do it.
myself. When I first transitioned, I loved to get she, her. It felt really good. It was very affirming, and it helped me to establish my identity. But I realized something, and that was that my friends who loved me and cared for me would sometimes say he, him, because they knew me as Jason, or because I'm 5'10" and I have a, not a super low voice, but certainly lower voice than biological women would. And when that would happen, it would rip me apart. I might focus on it for days because it hurt that that friend would call me he, him. And of course, it's accidental and she doesn't mean it. But it would put me into a place that was clearly not psychologically helpful. And when I really got to the root of that and reflected on it, I thought, oh gosh, this is because I'm living outside of reality. I am biologically male, but I'm pretending that I am just a normal, everyday biological female like my friends. And when they say he, him, it reminds me that they see something different about me. It doesn't mean they don't love me. It doesn't mean they don't care for me, but they see something different about me. And that was kind of when I realized that's not helpful as a transgender person to deny reality. And so I was able to, with my therapy, work through getting to a point where I was perfectly accepting that I'm biologically male. I don't like it. I wish I wasn't, but I'm comfortable with that. And so that doesn't get to me anymore. And I was able to take that then a few steps further to get to the point now that when I'm connecting with people, I can say, call me what works for you. I would prefer she, her, but if you say, nope, I must use the pronouns that align with someone's biological sex, fine. I can have a conversation with you that I will work on your terms. Same with, am I a woman? Am I a man? It's like, if you say, nope, you are a man, I only use those words on a sex basis, then I'll say, okay, that's fine. If they say you have to be Jason, okay, well then I'll be Jason, that's fine. And it doesn't get to me because I'm not looking for my affirmation through the language of others, which allows us to have conversations, allows us to bridge that gap. And the incredible thing that I think a lot of people miss then is it also never happens, because it's not enjoyable for my interlocutor to call me he, him when it doesn't get to me. If they say, nope, I only call people by, their biological sex, and I say, okay, and they call me he, him once or twice, and I don't react, they start to feel bad. They're like, oh, but you'd rather have she, her, because who wants to intentionally say something that the other person doesn't want? And it doesn't prove a point because I'm accepting of it. So there's a lot of people who very publicly online will only ever call people by their biological sex, and they'll make exceptions for me. There was a prominent journalist in the feminist space who once sent me a private message. She wrote an article about me that was published, and in that article, of course, I'm a trans-identified male is the terminology that she uses. And she wrote a letter to me, and she said, "I'm sorry, I did that. I can't make exceptions for trans people who I like because it's a very it's a publication where this is what's expected of her." But it's like, even then, she felt bad, and I just think that there's a lot of space here that we could be having these conversations, but the language ends up being the barrier so often.
That openness that you have to other people's learning process and whatever is comfortable for them, as you said, even about that journalist, is there's a shift for them. There's a shift for them because there's an allowance. I remember once getting a friend of mine's pronoun wrong, and I kind of got scolded for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm sorry, it's not intentional. There was like a condescending kind of reply to me. And we talked through it after. And because really what I was sharing was, I'm learning, like, give me space to learn. I'm not just going to get it right. Like, not only do I have all the years of my age that are programmed to use a pronoun with a certain visual, but also I know you. And that, that we just need grace for that exploration.